Hey, sports fans, and welcome back to Jazz on Sports. I'm your host, Jazz and Pollock, and today we have a very good show for you. It's going to be really exciting, being that the NFL season is right around the corner. So we're going to talk about today the top 10 rookies to look out for in this 2024 season. I'm super excited about this stuff because I think I'm going to add a different, multiple parts of it as the season progresses. And I'm really excited because there's a lot of talent on the board, but I picked top 10. There's no particular order because I think all of them are talented in their respected positions. And I'm really excited to see what they're going to do for their teams. So let's get into it. First on the board, obviously, is Caleb Williams. He is the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. He is a former Heisman Trophy winner, and we know that he gets the resemblance of Patrick Mahomes. He has that scramble drill down. He's able to throw across his body, do those acrobatic things on the field, and he's able to read defenses. So for the Chicago Bears, this is a very big deal for them. He was the first overall pick again for them in this past draft. And for him, it's really exciting because he does have weapons on the outside with veteran Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze, who we're going to get into as well, as a viable threat on the offensive side of the ball. So look for the Chicago Bears to make a little bit of splash and expect a lot of highlight reels from Caleb Williams. In the preseason, he did have 170 yards and 20 total yards on a touchdown pass. So he was able to do that twice in preseason. So keep your eyes on the Chicago Bears as Caleb Williams is going to lead this team for the next years to come. Next, we have Ricky Pearsall. He is a wide receiver from the Florida Gators, my Florida Gators. We know I'm a big fan, so I have a lot of expertise in this particular player. The San Francisco 49ers drafted him in the first round, and this is a big deal for their offense as well, being they have a Christian McCaffrey and a Deebo Samuels. We're not sure what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk. We know that he requested a trade. He's still on the team, and he's still waiting for a contract to be resolved, so we're going to see about that. But for Ricky Pearsall, he is a dynamic wide receiver. You can line him out wide. You can line him up inside. He can do a lot of things. And within Kyle Shanahan's offense, I'm really excited to see him be able to get a lot of touches. You're going to see him in motion a lot, and he's a very good blocker. So look for Ricky Pearsall to have a splash this season. They're going to put him in the mix on offense. Kyle Shanahan knows how to dial it up. He knows how to put people in places to win. You have so many different offensive weapons, again, for these 49ers. And the 49ers are expected to be back in that conference championship and even the Super Bowl. And this is a great pick for them to get back on offense. So look for Ricky Pearsall to make a splash as well. We have another receiver on the board, Malik Neighbors, for the New York Giants. He's a wide receiver as well. He was drafted from the LSU Tigers in the first round. He is another viable threat. And for the New York Giants, they need all the help they can get. We know Darren Waller did retire this season, and that's a big blow to them because he was one of the best tight ends in the league. And now they need that number one option. Saquon Barkley is no longer there. He signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. So for the Giants, getting Malik Neighbors in this draft, I believe he's going to be their number one option for sure. He helped Jaden Daniels get his Heisman as well. We saw him make a lot of great plays, especially in preseason. He gets into fights. He's a very big matchup night for other defenses. He is going to be a very big, viable threat, and I do think he's going to be the Giants' number one man in this offense because they do need all the help they can get. He will mostly be that big target, can definitely run past defense, but he's that big physical target like a DK Metcalf that the Giants need. So for them, this is a great pick, and I see them building around him and giving Daniel Jones that needed help that he needs. Next week, going on to the defensive side of the ball, we have Chop Robinson. He is from Penn State. He is a linebacker for the Miami Dolphins. And for the Dolphins, we look at them in totality of their offense. We see Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. We have Raheem Mostert. You have so many weapons. And then, of course, Mike McDaniel is their head coach, who was the former offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. So they have the offense together, but the question is, can that Dolphins defense stop the opposing offenses? And getting Chop Robinson is going to be a big deal because his speed off the ball. As a linebacker, he can line up as a linebacker and also play some defensive lineman positions as well. So for him, I'm really excited to see what the Dolphins are able to put him in. He is a very physical defender, and he is very, very fast off the block. He's able to get to his spots and attack and push in between the offensive line. So I'm really excited to see what the Dolphins are going to do. They do have Jalen Ramsey. They have a lot of people on defense that are going to be really good for them. And I think that the Dolphins are able to turn the corner, because for them, they're expected to make the AFC Championship game and compete for that division title with the Buffalo Bills, signing Chop Robinson to wreak havoc on the defensive side of the ball, to get after a Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers and a Jacoby Brissett or a Drake May. So it's going to be really exciting to see him, emerge as one of those young, talented linebackers, defensive players in this league. Next, we have another receiver, which I think is the best receiver in this draft, and that is Marvin Harrison Jr. He is the wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. We know he was the Ohio State phenom. No one is expecting anything less from him because of what he comes from. His dad being a Hall of Famer himself and a very fantastic receiver. But his route running ability, Marvin Harrison Jr., his route running ability, his ability to create separation, to get down the field, his sure pass catching ability is going to make fantasy fiends excited. I'm really excited for him and the Arizona Cardinals, because this gives Kyler Murray another option at receiver. And if you look at the Cardinals and how they're constructed, you lose Hollywood Brown to the Kansas City Chiefs, and you reimburse that with a Marvin Harrison Jr. at the 4th overall pick. We all expected it, and I expect Marvin Harrison Jr. to be one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid, receiver in the near future. So expect to see him in that conversation of being the highest paid receiver of all time. And he will definitely be a number one for a lot of people, including the Arizona Cardinals. Next, we have Brock Bowers, who is another great asset on the offensive side of the ball. He was a tight end for the Georgia Bulldogs, and he is a Las Vegas Raider. Now, for him, the biggest question for him is, can he stay healthy? He's had a lot of injuries throughout his course of playing in sports and being a player at Georgia. Very phenomenal. He was the best tight end for the past 3 years. There's a lot of comparison with him and Travis Kelce and a little bit of George Kittle from San Francisco. And you mix that together, he is able to block. He's able to get down the field. His route running ability, which resembles a Travis Kelce, but his physicality, the way he can block, reminds us all of George Kittle and winning those one-on-one battles. So for Brock Bowers, I think he is going to be another viable threat, and he's going to be in the future one of the highest paid tight ends as well, being that just his talent. But the question is, can he stay healthy? And that's been the biggest question for him. But other than that, this is an all-star player. He is going to be a Pro Bowler. He's going to be one of those guys who's going to lead the league in receptions and yards as a receiver. Gardner Minshew, he is going to be the starter for the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm really excited for him. He is going to definitely have a very good target in Brock Bowers. Next, we have another defensive tackle, Byron Murphy II for my Seattle Seahawks. We know the Green Bay Packers are my number one team, but the Seattle Seahawks are my second. And I think this is a great pick for them, because this is going to reemerge that Legion of Boom that we once had a couple years ago. When we look at Byron Murphy, he's one of the top interior defensive linemen that we saw last season. He is able to get physical and move offensive linemen out of the way, especially in a division that's built on defense. When you have the San Francisco 49ers, you have the Las Vegas Rams, who I think are going to be really good. And then, of course, the Arizona Cardinals. You need to have a player on the inside that can wreak havoc and get pressure on the quarterback. And Byron Murphy Jr. II is one of those players that can do it. And if we want to reemerge, and if the Seattle Seahawks want to get back to that Legion of Boom, get back to that defense they once had, you sign and get players like this to wreak havoc on the defensive side of the ball. So expect him to have a lot of sacks this season. Expect him to get a lot of QB pressures, and I expect the Seahawks to get back to that winning form on the defensive side of the ball. Next, we have another receiver who I mentioned before, was Rome Odunze for the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears did a very good job in this draft with getting their number one quarterback in Caleb Williams, and getting another threat on the receiving side of the ball with Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze is not the fastest, but he is a very physical receiver that we saw with Washington, and he is able to win those one-on-one battles. He's a very big target in the red zone, so expect Caleb Williams to have those highlight plays like I mentioned earlier. and be able to capitalize off of defense's mistakes. When you have a Rome Odunze and a Keenan Allen on the other side of the field, they have a lot of weapons in the Chicago Bears offensive side of the ball. And they did get DeAndre Swift in free agency. So they do have some offensive pieces. It's just the question of, can they put it together and amount to some wins? So expect Rome Odunze to be one of those scary receivers, one of those receivers that are going to be on the top of the list as well in the fantasy. And he's a very big target. So expect them to utilize him very well. Next, we have Jared Verse, who is an edge for the Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to say the Raiders. He was a Florida State player, and we know that Florida State has bred a lot of great talent in this draft. For this particular player, Jared Verse, he was kind of under the radar. You know, we look at a lot of the players, Chop Robinson, Murphy, a lot of guys that they've, picked over, but Jared Verse is a very, very scary threat for the Rams. Being that Aaron Donald retired, and you get someone, a young player like Jared Verse, who can get to the quarterback, who can line up on different sides, who can play on the edge, who can play inside. We saw what he was able to do with Florida State, and he led the league in tackles. He was able to get off the blocks and just blow up plays. He is able to get after running backs. His effort, his tenacity and he has that grit that the Rams need. And I think the Rams are going to utilize him very well. And being that I do think the Rams are going to be one of those dark horse teams that people are going to need to watch out for. Signing Jared Verse, drafting him is going to be a big deal for them to come in the regular season. And my final pick is, last but not least, is Xavier Worthy, receiver out of Texas, who is going to the defending champs, Kansas City Chiefs. Xavier Worthy, when we thought the Kansas City Chiefs couldn't get any better, they do. Last season was statistically their worst offensive season. Even though they still won the Super Bowl, the Chiefs still were able to get the ball where they needed to. And now you add an Xavier Worthy. And then just this morning, they signed Juju Smith-Schuster again, and you get Hollywood Brown. So they have a lot of receivers that they're able to just, recycle and get. But I do think Xavier Worthy is going to be their number one option. He did break the record for the 40. He had the fastest time in history at the NFL Combine. And you give Patrick Mahomes another speedster. I'm not saying a Tyreek Hill, because I think they're two different kind of receivers, but you add another speedster who is lean, who can make acrobatic catches, who you can line up in any situation. Expect him to make a splash, and expect Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes to have another great season with this young player. When we look at Xavier Worthy, he was one of my most watched players for Texas in college football, and he was an exciting player to watch when he was able to just blow by defenses. You're going to see him on punt returns. You're going to see him on kickoff returns. You're going to see him in motion a lot. So expect Andy Reid to put him in a lot of situations. He will be the number one receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, even though they have a lot of receivers that they can go to. This offense is going to, again, be humming, and it's going to cause scares for a lot of defenses. That wraps up this show. Thank you all for your support. Thank you, Leon, for your production. Thank you, Jay, for producing as well. Expect to see me talk about maybe a part 2, because there's other players that did not make this round but will make the part 2. So I'm really excited to show you guys who I think would be some rookies to watch. That wraps up. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel and mention if you agree with this top 10 list. Do you think that some of these players are going to be very good? I think all of them are going to be very good and make a splash and be very good fantasy picks. If you're looking for somebody, this is definitely something to look out for with these top 10 picks. That wraps up the show. Thank you all. See you guys next time for more on Jazz on Sports.